Hello and welcome back to episode number 10 of the International Greenkeepers For Hire podcast, the podcast made for greenkeepers by greenkeepers. My name is Bradley and I am your host on this podcast adventure. First of all, apologies for the delays in the podcast recently. Life's been going a million miles an hour and I still want to produce good quality content for you guys, hence the delay. I just want to say again, following up on last episode, COVID's on a huge impact on a lot of us, and I wanted to say if you need help or any support, please feel free to reach out to us, either me personally or the group. We have a fantastic bunch of guys and girls. Anyway, back to why we're all here today. You've seen the title, right? Journey of a Groundsman, or greenkeeper for that fact. Whichever way you look at it, we're all turf managers. I'd like to invite you all to take a listen to my conversation with our friend Damien Curtis. He is the Parks Coordinator at the Liverpool City Council in Sydney, Australia. Before we all start, thanks for taking the time out to being on the podcast, Damian. It's a pleasure to have you on and looking forward to talking about you and your road to where you've got to where you are today.
Thank you very much for having me. Much appreciated coming aboard.
So you're currently the curator for Liverpool City Council, is that right, in New South Wales?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different wording, but it's so Parks Coordinator. We have an East and a West Coordinator. I'm the East Coordinator.
Yeah.
We look after an area. It's about 300 square kilometres, so quite a large area. But I do look after all of the sporting fields, which at the moment are about 108 hectares.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. So that's a pretty big job. So obviously you've done well to get there. So let's have a chat about the road you've taken to get there, really. So when did you start off? How did you get into Groundsman?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a funny journey. I straight out of school, I left school at 15. As soon as we were legally allowed to leave school, I was didn't have. I wouldn't say that I didn't like school, but I just liked sport and I just wanted to get out into the workforce. So I was into my cars, so I started a spray painting apprenticeship, and that sort of, I absolutely loved that, but I wasn't really big on the fumes, but I still completed that after 4 years, and then I was a little bit of a roustabout for 3 or 4 years. I was doing fire demolition and all sorts of things. I was running clubs and DJing and a barman, not all in some pretty interesting clubs, I must say, but it was a great life experience. And then I really enjoyed doing the fire demolition. I enjoyed the machinery operation, and that sort of led into a couple of different roles. And I came back from the Gold Coast. I was helped build one of those Movie World, sort of one of the big theme parks up there. I was on sort of bobcats and backhoes and machinery.
Nice.
And
nice.
I was sort of out of work, and they had this scheme going where you do a full-time horticulture course for 6 months, and you worked on a local council. So it was called a RED scheme. I'm not sure whether they still do that anymore, but there was about 70 of us, and at the end of the 6 months, it was almost like a Survivor Series. 2 people got picked.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys and girls sort of got stuck doing bush regeneration and not really sort of nice work. I was lucky. I got seconded to an oval, and I got taught how to do cricket wickets. So and I just found a love for it. I genuinely done a few different things, but absolutely loved it, and was lucky enough to get kept on. And I managed to work on wickets for 5 or 6 years straight on all sorts of different wickets, and that's where it all started. Just I was very lucky.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously you've done well from there to get where you are. So when you were back there, did you ever think you'd become a groundsman? Is it a line of work that you ever considered before?
No, not at all. Even though I was a bit of a sporting nut, I'd never considered the people that actually done the job or things like that. I've always liked it in the great outdoors, but after a couple of years of pretty much being a night owl in the club scene, I was sleeping all during the day, mate, so I didn't really consider it, but I used to love to go and watch live sport, and in the big stadiums, and obviously watching my mates' kids play. I played a lot of sport up till I was about 16, and then work took sort of precedent. But no, I really got a love for cricket wickets, and I was just, like I said, very lucky to have a good mentor and had good people around me. Was one of the biggest things, and just we had a great council where they really encouraged you to learn, and you had good mentors, and I got to move around to different grounds. So I'd do a season, and I worked my way up from just a sort of pretty much a fifth grade wicket up to doing state wickets, and having it was very exciting. I didn't have any internationals, but Drummoyne Oval at the time used to be like a second or third ground to the SCG. So when they started like an ING Cup, which is just like a one-day sort of series, it was pretty big, and we managed to have 4 games in 2 years back then, and that was a big deal. And I was lucky enough to do Steve Waugh and ex-Australian captain Darren Lehman's last state games, and that sort of got me the bug, and then I decided to get into a bit of golf, do a bit of golf course work, and we were very lucky. We actually had 5 turf wickets, but we also had two public golf courses that were very high use. And so our greenkeeping services division, you got an all-round perspective on greenkeeping. We used to go and cut, aerate, spray fields, and we got a bit of both worlds. So I went over to golf for 6 years after doing wickets for 4, and I still kept my eye in. I used to do a lot of the renovation and the spraying programs for our ovals, but golf sort of bit me, and that was a great experience.
Oh, that's great. And was that the last place you worked, or has there been a few places in between?
There's been lots. Are you ready?
Yes, you can give us a quick rundown.
No, it won't be too long. Even though that I love a chat. So pretty much it was from that time when I got on wickets. It was 12 years at that local government. I ended up working my way up to a greenkeeping services coordinator. So I looked after anything greenkeeping in that council. It was fantastic. I was there 11 and a half years. I went for a management job there, and I didn't get it, and I was pretty upset, obviously, as you would. So I actually left that council and went into private industry for the next 19 years until now. So I left there and I went around a university at Macquarie, which is over at Ryde in Sydney. That was a little bit smaller than Sydney Uni, but we had quite a lot of wickets and very high profile fields. I was there for about 18 months as the grounds coordinator. Then I had a sea change. I had a young family. We started in Sydney with my first wife, so we decided to move to Port Macquarie, which is a nice little coastal town, probably 4.5 hours out of Sydney.
Yeah.
I landed there with no work, and the first day I knocked on a bowling club's door. Lawn bowls is quite big up there. It's God's waiting room, a lot of retirees. So I ended up getting a job as a casual, and all the guys resigned because I was this upstart from Sydney taking their jobs. They were very colonial up there. Nothing against them, but a lot of the guys up there are pretty protected species. And so I ran a bowling club for 7 years, working on Tiftdorf grass, a totally different type of hybrid couch. Very big eye-opener. I was on my own for nearly a year. I'd never done bowling greens before, cutting turf to 1.5 mil. Lots of disease and pests, and 5 acres of surrounds, quite large surrounds for a bowling club. We had like a decent sort of ride-on mower, and it was all Queensland blue couch. So I really enjoyed that. I'm glad I did it. I'd probably never go back to bowling greens again, but I'm glad for the experience, and that sort of helped me. I stayed there for 6.5, 7 years, and then I started my own business up there. I was getting so many offers for what do you do with this and what do you do with that, I started initially a small contracting business just for household lawns while I was still at the bowling club, and that turned into quite a lucrative business, spraying council areas and all the Catholic dioceses, which the Catholic Church owns half that town. So it was quite a good gig. And I started also, my company used to do contracting for wickets because the council didn't like to employ curators. They just used to have ex-cricketers do wickets. So I started doing wickets up there and got a good name for myself in a couple of years and had a lot of rep games, and that sort of got me the bug back to go back into doing cricket wickets. I had a marriage breakup, and I was sort of looking to sort of leave that small seaside village. So I left there and I got a position at the King's School in Sydney, quite a formidable school. I was sitting on 300 acres on right in the middle of Parramatta, and there were 15 turf wickets, pretty nice grounds, 19 hectares of playing field. So I went there for 6 months just as a normal one of the tradies, and after 6 months, the head curator's position come up, and I was lucky enough to get it, and that was a great experience. Fantastic place to work, good staff, really sort of challenging 7 days a week, pretty much on call 24/7. Obviously, it was a really good job. I was there for 3.5 years, and I got poached out of there with an offer that I couldn't refuse at the time to run a landscape company, sports turf section.
Yeah.
That sort of was. I wasn't ready to go off the tools, but it was. I'll be honest, it was double my salary that I was on, and it involved a lot of travel and project managing some big construction jobs. So I was there nearly 2 years. I really enjoyed that job. It was a lot. I got to see the business side of sort of project management. I got to travel, but the lure of getting back on the tools, and I sort of missed that sort of interaction with the team. So I left that job, and I was a little bit of a mercenary for a couple of months. I worked with your old boss, Mr. Darryl Davidson. It's a great experience to work at Sydney Uni, and I sort of was doing a little bit of this and that, and Graham Logan, very esteemed curator in Sydney, who I know from the Sports Turf Association, where I'm on the committee, had a foreman's job going with Bankwest Stadium opening up. One of the guys there, Joel Toogood, very good greenkeeper, he got moved over there to start the operation. So I went into ANZ Stadium, which was an absolutely fantastic job. It was a really sort of bucket list greenkeeping, if you want to call it that. I thought I was too old for stadiums by then. I thought, I've missed the boat, but I got to do some fantastic events. They did have cricket wickets there. We had training wickets, which were inactive for years once they stopped playing cricket there, and there's a big shortage of wickets in Sydney. So I got to do some wickets for Sydney Thunder and the Australian ladies and men's team, and also travelling sides, and while we were doing the stadium downstairs. That was a great job. I only left there pretty much because they were shutting down. My contract had ran out. This month they were meant to start bulldozing it, so I saw a good opportunity at 50 years old, 28 years on the tools, to sort of go into a management position at a local council where I am now.
Oh, that's great. It's a good journey you've had there.
Yeah, very interesting. Met some characters, that's for sure.
Yeah, I bet, especially with going through all the different types of sports and seeing all the events that used to happen at ANZ, and all your bowls and everything else. But while you were doing all that, I'm just guessing here, did you have any study on the side? What did you do?
Yeah, so when I started, I completed that horticulture course, which, even though it was full-time for 6 months, was pretty much like a trade ticket. As soon as I could, after 6 months, once I got accepted on the council, I completed the trade certificate. It's like a trainee, because I was already 23 by that stage, so I didn't have to do a year on the job, but I just had to give one of my flexies up and work. So let me go once a week. Then I went and done Certificate 4 in turf management, which was really good, and I jumped in on the back of Certificate 5, which I'd done 6 months, and then that course got sort of null and void. There wasn't enough people, so by then I was already on my way up to Port Macquarie, so I had to finish that. I had to finish my diploma online and sort of through various agencies. That's as far as I went. I would have liked to have done the ag degree. I just didn't have time, but I'd done lots of little courses along the way, especially with occupational health and safety and all that sort of stuff, and a couple of frontline management courses. But I'd really like to study again.
I was going to
Never
say
stop
that.
learning.
Yeah, now things are starting to settle down a bit again for you. Is that something you'd look at, or what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the role that I'm in now, I think I could definitely do with some management training, but also I'd still like to possibly go into the project management side. Our council, although it's not my area, we do a lot of civil construction, and we've got millions of dollars worth of construction underway. I'd like to get into that side of it, just understand a little bit more about the project management behind what happens. I get a say pretty much at the last end of that. I'd like to have a little bit more input with the speccing and sort of stuff like that before I get something like, say it pretty crudely, but a pile of shite handed over to you. You'd like to sort of have a little bit more say, but no, I really enjoy being involved with associations where we do. I've had a lot of input with the Sports Club Association with the Wicket 101s and Wicket 201s. Actually helped develop that with Graham Logan early in the piece, and a couple of other people on the committee, and we do a lot of training at work where I am now. I love that mentoring and trying to share a little bit of the knowledge. Also tend to learn a lot on the way also just from the younger generation that are keen like I was, sort of bright-eyed kid at 23 who I thought I was at the SCG when I was doing my little fifth grade wicket. I had dreams to go places, and used to, in the back of my head, all the little one percenters and those little things that I used to do each day and stay back to make sure that I didn't leave that wicket crease. That was my, it's an awesome industry, but what you put into it, you will get back, but you must be willing to sacrifice a lot to sort of get to where you got to get to.
Oh, definitely. And you said there about the young greenkeepers. What would you say to people that aren't greenkeepers, like the young guys and young girls that want to get into greenkeeping or not sure what job they want to take? Would you recommend it?
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, obviously, I suppose like living in a place like Sydney is quite an expensive place to live, and wages have a big factor on determining with young guys and girls on what sort of career path they take. But I think all of my kids, my youngest with 5 children, and they've all done a little bit of greenkeeping and casual work. None of them took it up, but that's okay. I totally understand. They were sort of governed by the sort of high profile trades that pay quite well, but they all of them are doing second and third jobs. So for that monetary sort of side of it, I'd say to people, follow your passion. It doesn't matter what you end up choosing. If you like it, it's a bonus. If you love it, it's not a chore. You'll be able to push through the sort of the hard times. We do work in the elements, and there's a lot of things that are out of our control in turf management. But if you get a good mentor, and if you don't, move to another job where you do get where you will get good training, because I think a lot of people in any trade have a bad experience doing a certain job and then might quit that job altogether. But if you can get good mentoring and even seek out and do a bit of work experience, not even if it's unpaid with other people. I know Daryl did that when he was younger from Sydney Uni. I worked at 5 Australian Opens, and I was only working at a shitty public golf course, but I wanted to see what it was like at the top, how the guys did it, and you just got to invest in your own career. And that's whether that's taking a pay cut to go and work under a good superintendent or curator to learn that knowledge and to see what it's like at the top end. Sometimes people working in stadiums and that high profile stuff isn't for everybody. It does come with a lot of stress. At the same time, if you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't matter where you work. You'll enjoy working on your little patch. Becomes very personal when you're working with something that's a living organism. But I definitely recommend this trade. It's a fantastic trade.
Yeah, completely. You end up spending a lot of time sort of putting your soul into the job, and that sort of does reflect in the quality of the work you produce. So I'm the sort of same on the same page there. But with that, What would you say has been the best moment? What stands out to you that you tell everyone? Because I always have a few that I always say the same ones, and people get sick of hearing them. Like, what was the best?
Wow, it's that's a hard one. One of the probably before ANZ Stadium would have been doing a New South Wales wicket for absolute legends to play on, pulling it off from start to finish with limited resources and having as a TV game. But I think the ANZ Stadium experience topped it off. Probably the first grand final, even bigger than Origin. 85,000 people. When you work in a stadium, it's not all beer and skittles. A lot of logistical stuff behind the scenes. A lot of night work leading up. You lose control of that patch of that arena for weeks leading up to a big event. So you've got to work around that. But I'd say the exhilaration of butterflies in the guts. Pulling out 9-ton stages and a hell of a lot of things going into that event. And then after all this practice and rehearsal, the two best teams in the NRL are going to have a game, and it's going to be watched by 4 million people. And I'd definitely say that was definitely the icing on the cake for me.
Oh, that's great. So have you, along the way, have you managed to meet anyone really famous or anything like that?
Used to meet a lot of. We used to have quite an impressive rugby union field at Concord Oval. It wasn't councils when I was a young fella, but our fields were across the road. But we used to have to park cars on our beautiful fields. That was interesting. And they used to get 17,000 people. Not a big ground, but probably one of the best surfaces I've ever seen back when it was used for the World Cup rugby and things like that. But used to meet a lot of celebrities in the car park, and they'd try to drop money out the window to park under a tree to shade their Bentley and stuff. But I did meet a lot. Did meet a lot at the golf. I actually was a course quality, the Aussie Open. We sort of met Greg Norman and Tony Navarro and a lot of those elite golfers. And so I don't get sued, I'll just leave it at that, whether they're nice people or not. But in the stadiums, definitely, met some sort of, met Russell Crowe and met a lot of the actors that were involved with sport. And it was nice. It was good to see them while you were working, and you saw them, and you weren't allowed to talk to them or get a selfie or stuff. Yeah. But if you saw them, coming down the train or do a captain's run, and a lot of the famous footballers and rugby union people, because we had some quite big events there. That was it was really nice to sort of get a few things signed and stuff. But
you've done well there. So what's the funniest thing you've ever seen or been a part of during your career? I'm sure there's been a few scandals and bits along the way, and anything you can tell us.
So again, I won't incriminate anybody that's still alive. I'll try to keep it to lots of absolutely lots of hilarious things. I suppose usually most of the hilarious things happen when you're digging up a disaster like an irrigation break, a metre down. Pipes are meant to be only 300 or 400 down, and someone's gone head first in the water, or blown off. Setting irrigation, when we've done, because we're very lucky in the public courses in a way, because we had a big budget, but we got to do everything ourselves, so we learned a hell of a lot with construction and installing our own irrigation and stuff. Probably like setting a new site. We had a new Toro Site Pro controller. It was all walkie-talkies, and that was a big thing back in the 20 odd years ago. And it's punching in the codes to pop sprinklers up, and unfortunately, they got popped up on the wrong green, and sort of got one of our ladies club captain in the face, and actually done a somersault backwards at 6 litres a second water. It wasn't very good. Jeez. It was funny, and just didn't get hurt, so it was a good laugh. But I never lived that one down. That was pretty funny. But and also watching one of my guys in the stadiums just absolutely tread on the biggest cat turd you've ever seen and slip straight over in it. That was pretty impressive too. I won't name names.
We'll not incriminate anyone. So what's the best advice you've been given during your career?
Best advice would be Probably that perseverance. Take a breath. I'm known to shoot from the hip a little bit. Sometimes you just gotta take a breath. And but probably from my one of my first bosses that I respected doing actually fire demolition. He was a hard worker, and he just said that you've got to get people to respect you, you got to earn it, and always back yourself. Like you're gonna, a lot of people will go to a job and especially in this day and age, and I'm not taking it lightly, there are a lot of setbacks you can have in life, and they've always been there. It's how you sort of how you interpret and how you take it in. But you are going to get setbacks. You are going to get people that don't like you and stuff. But you back yourself. You trust your gut. Trust your gut if you don't think it's the right place to work in or you're not happy. You trust your gut to have a go, because as you get older and you get a bit more responsibility, especially when you're a foreman or something, sometimes you got to make those calls. You live and die by the sword, and usually if they're made for the right reasons, you're not going to get scolded for it. So I would just say back yourself. Yeah,
totally. And if you could change one thing about the trade, what would it be?
I would definitely change the perception that we're, although not an essential trade, due to the elements and the diverse areas that we work in, dealing with plants, the science and the mathematics with volumes, I definitely should be more highly regarded, not only in pay but just as a trade in general. Like horticulture, it's a very, very unique science. It's learning every single microclimate's different, so you become the absolute prince of your domain or princess of your domain, and what works in at Sydney Uni or Macquarie Uni or the King's School mightn't work at Liverpool Council out in its own area. So learning how to work your own little microclimate and what products work and what machinery you need. I mean, obviously a lot of us are always want for things, trying to pull all that together. Then you've got staff and you've got weather, so we're pretty much undervalued. So I really think, and that's as a general rule right across, not just sports turf, but also for just people that work outside and deal with living things, that really change the perception of people when they. I've had people from all walks of life come and do casual work, especially in Port Macquarie on the bowling greens. There was very high unemployment, so I had scientists and firemen, and it was almost embarrassing the amount of the people that I had with uni degrees come and do casual work, and they all said one thing: they could not believe how hard it was, and also how much went into the planning and the management behind the scenes of having an area look nice. And again, I'll say area because it wasn't just greens. It was 160 metres of hedges. You had roses, you had annuals, you had things that looked good, and you had cleaning. So they just could not believe how much went into it.
Totally, yeah. It's a lot of people always say it. Anyone can look after plants and grass. They couldn't be more wrong. But it's there's a lot more than what people think with the science, and like you say, something that can work here literally across the road will be a completely different situation with regards of the soil and the climate. But it's just something we have to work with. Sorry, do you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say one of the most undervalued things that we have as a turf manager is our observation skills. If you're using a whole lot of products and you're not evaluating them properly, so you can actually know what's working and what's not, that's something that only somebody that genuinely probably loves it and will aspire to be something better than where they start will get that and understand that. And like, you've worked in a very good team, I know, down in Sydney Uni, and I know the culture there was to continually improve yourself, and that continuous improvement, that's what's got to drive you to get to where you've got to get to. You can't settle for second best. You've got to be that person that wants to continuously improve.
Oh, completely. Yeah, you've got to go above and beyond and out your own way, especially if you want to make it to top of your game. But it's all well worth it. It's worth it. So with everything that's going on at the moment, with all the COVID and the problems that we had in the sector already, staffing wise. What do you think what's going to be the way forward? What do you think? How are we going to get more greenkeepers into greenkeeping as such?
I think it's been discussed, and I've been involved with many different organisations. Every single different sport that I've done, whether it be golf, bowls, or wickets, I've been involved and believe in industry associations that can foster, really fostering positive promotion of our trade, and that's got to be multifaceted. That's got to be in schools. It's got to be at trade shows. It's got to be, a lot of different things have worked and not worked, but we need to get our voice out there. A lot of the times, that's targeted at sporting schools because people think, sportsmen or sportswomen, they sort of understand a little bit more. Well, they're playing on the surfaces that we're producing. So if they don't make the big time, they might become green. And look, a lot of the times that has been the case. We've got some fantastic international sports people and women that actually, started their career while they're sort of working their way through the grades as assistant curators and whatnot. But I just really think that we just need to keep our, not take our foot off the pedal. Like you've got to have people that are in those positions that are obviously very highly sort of high profile, that are still not forgetting where they come from, making sure they're putting back. You're playing yourself forward. I like that term. Probably not used a lot in greenkeeping, but when I go and help somebody or get a phone call to look at somebody's ground, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but I'm playing it forward and I'm playing my knowledge, and I'm hoping that we're investing in the next generation. I've got 10 or 15 years left. That's you got young fellas like yourself that have got another 30 years to go, and you can promoting it positive, like, well, International Greenkeepers is a big start. STA, Australian Golf Course Supers, we've got to make sure we just reinvest our time more than anything. Money's not a huge thing. You can get all the sponsors on board that you want. It's not going to make us any better, but fostering that positive promotion of our trade, how good it is, where you can go, you can travel all over the world like you have already, and that you don't have to get stuck in one position. You can go to, an estate in England and look after beautiful sort of private schools or estates, or you could go and look at cricket wickets in Florida, and you go on lawn tennis courts in Melbourne. It's just so broad, and you can travel and have quite a successful career doing that in itself. So I think the education side of it, we just got to keep on. We've got to keep the momentum rolling. You've got to get a lot of people on board, even especially the younger generation, that help foster that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think especially with what Daryl did and with myself, and being able to go out there and see this completely different side to the sports turf that I would never have seen before, it's given me knowledge that I can use for the rest of my life, really. But I know people that have gone abroad now, and they've been abroad for 10 years or so. They've been going about different places. I've been to places volunteering, Pebble Beach, Rose Bowl, all over the world. Crazy. Yeah. And we'll go on to a few personal questions, but just before we finish, do you think that you'd ever consider working overseas, or is that it for you now? You want to be staying and settling?
That's a funny one. I suppose life catches up with you when you have families and kids, and your priorities change. I mean, never changed for me. I found something that I love doing from 22, and I'm never going to change my career. But that's the last little bucket list thing that I want to tick off. I definitely would love to go overseas. Before I went to ANZ, I had a few offers in Southeast Asia. I didn't obviously take them up, but that's something that, even if it was done on a where I actually took leave, without pay, and went over for a short stint, I'd definitely love to work, especially in Europe and England. That's one thing that's a box that I'd love to tick. I've travelled and I've looked at places and was the annoying person. Can I go in and have a look at that ground? But I just like get on a Dennis mower at sort of Spurs Stadium or wherever, even in Malta where my wife's from, and do a little bit of work at that international stadium. I just love it. Yeah, that's something that I hope to do.
That's great. And what's coming up next for you? Obviously, you just joined Liverpool City Council. Any big projects on? What's happening?
Yeah, look, just I've only been there 4 months, so I've really it's a really blank sort of canvas. Me getting to know the area and the guys and the team there getting to know me. But we've got some exciting projects. I'm a real stickler in presentation, so just trying to lift the standard of our fields up. We've got a lot of civil work. Instead of putting in we've got a couple of elite fields getting built, which will require quite a bit of intense maintenance, which like to start our own sort of greenkeeping team, which they don't have at the moment, just to sort of get that training, be less reliant on subcontractors, and just pushing through, meeting and getting as much knowledge out there as we can, and just very excited to be starting this job. It's a great job. COVID's made it a bit hard. We've worked around it. I'm working with some fantastic people that, I suppose that has got a philosophy. The show goes on, and we've made it safe. We've been very lucky. No one's got sick at work. We're working in a very highly stressed sort of local government area, big population, but we've so far trying to make your area safe and making sure the staff under you. I've gone from having 3 staff to 98, so making sure that they're keeping them healthy and safe at work, and just projecting that positive sort of place to work.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and obviously we wish you all the best with that. We can't wait to see what you produce, and I'm sure we're going to get some pictures up on the Greenkeepers, International Greenkeepers.
No, definitely.
Good. I don't know if there's anything you want to add just before we finish.
No, just the fact that I think what you guys are doing there is unreal. There's a lot of organisations and stuff, but you are truly a international page, and your knowledge is power. So no matter what you do in life, knowledge and will just continue to provide you with those tools to be able to excel. And I think what you've done with Darryl and the rest of the committee there is fantastic. And the fact that you're willing to work with other organisations, you're not sort of pigeonholing yourself. And sometimes a lot of organisations can get caught up in the politics of the whole structure, and they forget why they're actually there, and they start getting led and governed by the dollars rather than actually what we're here for. And I think that your whole agenda and what you do is fantastic. And to be honest, you're actually leaps and bounds ahead of most other organisations, and you're certainly setting a standard for what others should be doing.
Oh, we really appreciate that. Yeah, our sort of philosophy is we're here to help. We're not here to create problems, we're here to help. So hopefully we can take that forward. But I appreciate you having you on. It's been fantastic to hear about your journey of a groundsman and how you've got to where you are today. And thanks for taking the time out to being on the podcast, Damian.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Again, massive thank you for Damian for giving his time to be on the podcast. And if you'd like to be on the podcast or have any ideas for future episodes, please get in touch via social media, email, or our website. The website has amazing features at the moment. You want to get yourself, go have a look. We've got all the educational cards on there. I've changed the format so they're no longer PDF, and you can just see them. You can just go on and see them as a gallery now. So it's a lot more user-friendly, as well as the likes of the career board and the store, where you can now buy our International Greenkeepers For Hire merch. All the profits go towards the scholarships and helping run the page. All the links will be available below. Please like, follow, subscribe, and let us know what you think. This podcast is for you, greenkeepers and groundsmen, and we want to make sure that you're happy with it. Until next time, all the best.